For 1,000 years, the mountain stood alone, covered in black clouds and surrounded by storms. No ship dared to land near it. No alien dared to fly above it. Even machines sent to scan its surface melted in midair. Legends called it the Mountain of Chains, a place where a dragon had been trapped by the gods themselves. Captain Rowan Hale looked at the glowing map on his console. His ship was shaking as the wind screamed outside. The storm sensors warned him again and again, approaching restricted zone. But he ignored the red lights flashing on the screen. His eyes were fixed on the mountain in the distance, a dark shadow that rose above the lightning like a sleeping beast. He was not supposed to be here. The Galactic Research Council had forbidden any exploration in this area. But Rowan was not a man who obeyed rules anymore. He had fought in 3 wars, seen cities burn, and lost every person he had ever cared for. Now he wanted answers, the kind of answers that could only be found in forgotten places. His ship landed on the edge of a cracked plateau. The ground trembled as the landing gear touched the rock. The air was hot, smelling like ash and iron. Rowan stepped out wearing a light armor suit. Every step echoed across the empty valley. His boots pressed against dust that hadn't been disturbed in centuries. The mountain loomed above him, tall and cruel. Red streaks of molten light ran through its sides like veins. The wind carried whispers, voices that didn't sound human or alien, but something older, something heavy with sorrow. He raised his wrist scanner, but the screen only showed static. Every signal failed the moment he got close to the mountain. Great, he muttered, alone, blind, and probably cursed. He reached the base of the mountain where the stones changed color. From gray to deep black, strange symbols glowed faintly under his flashlight. He recognized some of them from ancient ruins he had studied. Symbols of binding and punishment. Used by gods or beings who claimed to be gods. The air grew warmer, and his breath became heavy inside the helmet. Then he saw it, the chain. It was as thick as a tree trunk, buried halfway in the mountain wall. Each link was larger than his body, forged from metal that shimmered like starlight. He touched it gently with his gloved hand and felt a pulse, slow and deep, as if the chain itself was alive. For a moment he froze. It felt like a heartbeat. Impossible, he whispered. It's still active. He followed the chain, step by step deeper into the valley between the cliffs. The lightning flashed again, and he saw hundreds of other chains coiling around the mountain like a web, all of them meeting somewhere near the top. Something enormous was imprisoned there, something that had been asleep for a very long time. A gust of wind knocked him to the ground. The dust rose like smoke. His helmet sensors blinked red. An energy wave had just passed through the area. He stood up quickly, but the mountain had gone silent again. He looked around. Every instinct in him screamed to leave, to run back to his ship and never return. But his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He remembered the legends he had heard as a child, stories told by old soldiers about dragons who fought against the gods, creatures who could burn the skies but were capable of mercy. The gods feared that mercy. They feared that power guided by a heart, not by command. So they bound the dragon in chains made from divine metal, sealing it away forever. Rowan placed his hand on the glowing chain again, this time without his glove. The metal burned his skin, but he didn't move. He wanted to understand what this thing was suddenly. His mind filled with flashes, visions too fast to make sense of. A giant creature falling from the heavens, surrounded by fire and thunder, its wings torn, its roar shaking the stars. Then silence. He pulled his hand away, gasping for breath. The vision faded, but a sound remained, faint and echoing, a whisper. Human. He spun around, flashlight scanning the dark valley. Who's there? He shouted, but there was no one, only wind and ash. Again the whisper came, stronger this time. Human. After 1,000 years, you dare? His heart pounded. The voice didn't come from around him. It came from inside his mind, deep and ancient, heavy with pain. He swallowed hard. You're real, aren't you? The ground shook, and from the shadows at the mountain's base, 2 enormous golden eyes opened, glowing faintly through the smoke. Each eye was the size of his ship's cockpit, and when they blinked, the world seemed to darken. The air vibrated with power. Rowan stepped back slowly, his hand hovering near his weapon. I didn't come to fight, he said quietly. I came to understand. The dragon's voice rumbled like thunder rolling across the galaxy. They all say that. Before they run, lightning flashed, revealing its enormous form. Scales cracked and dull with age, wings folded and bound by countless chains. Its body was covered in ancient runes glowing faintly in red and blue. And yet, even in that ruined form, it was beautiful, majestic, and terrible. Rowan's voice trembled. You've been here for so long. The dragon lowered its head slightly, its voice soft now like a sigh through fire. 1,000 years of silence, 1,000 years of pain, and now, a human dares to touch what gods have sealed. Rowan took a slow breath. The storm roared around him, but he didn't move away. His eyes met the dragon's. Maybe it's time someone did, he said. The dragon's gaze burned through him. The ground cracked beneath its claws, the chains rattled, and the mountain itself seemed to breathe. Rowan raised his hand again, the same chain glowing under his touch. Then came a deep hum, the sound of metal waking from slumber. The chains moved slightly, alive and trembling, and in that moment, Rowan heard the dragon's voice inside his soul, soft, trembling, and full of sorrow. "You've made a mistake, human," it said. "For now the gods will remember I still exist." And far above, lightning no longer flashed white. It turned gold. Rowan stood frozen, the golden light from the dragon's eyes reflecting on his armor. Thunder rolled through the valley like the heartbeat of something ancient. The air around him felt thick, alive, every breath heavy with heat and ash. He had seen war. He had seen alien monsters and machines beyond reason. But nothing had ever made him feel so small. The dragon spoke again, its voice deep and low, as if the entire mountain was speaking through it. "Why have you come, human?" The words echoed inside his skull rather than through his ears. It wasn't just sound, it was thought, layered with emotion so old that it made him dizzy. Rowan swallowed hard, his voice shaking. "I came for knowledge," he said, "to understand why no one has returned from this mountain." A rumble rolled through the ground. A laugh, or maybe a growl. "Knowledge," the dragon whispered. "That is what they all say before they chain the next god." Rowan blinked in confusion. "I'm not here to harm you," he said quickly. "I don't even know what you are." The dragon's eyes dimmed slightly, then burned brighter. "I am what they feared most," it said. "A creature that once chose mercy instead of destruction. And for that I was punished." Rowan took a cautious step closer, ignoring the warning lights on his suit flashing red from the heat. "Mercy?" he asked softly. "You were chained for mercy?" The dragon lifted its head and the air rippled with power. Dust and smoke spiraled around its horns. "I spared a world they wished destroyed, a world of weak, small beings who believed in hope." Its gaze met his, burning golden fire into his heart. "They said I betrayed them, that I had corrupted divine law with compassion." Rowan's throat tightened. He didn't know what to say. He looked up at the endless chains wrapped around the dragon's body, the metal glowing faintly with celestial light. "Who are they?" he asked. The dragon's wings twitched and the chains groaned like thunder in answer. "The ones who built the stars and filled them with life. The ones your kind now calls gods." The words hung in the air, sharp and heavy. Rowan's mind raced. His training as a scientist and explorer clashed with the reality before him. If what the dragon said was true, then this was no myth, no legend. It was history that the galaxy had chosen to forget. He tried to think logically, but his curiosity outweighed fear. "Then why speak to me?" he asked. "If you've hated all who came before, why not destroy me where I stand?" The dragon leaned closer and Rowan could feel its breath, hot and smelling like burning metal and ancient dust. "Because you touched the chains," it said quietly. "And they answered." Rowan frowned. "Answered?" The dragon nodded slowly. "These chains hold more than my body. They hold memory, thought, and will. They react only to those who carry defiance in their blood." He looked down at his hands. The skin where he'd touched the metal still burned faintly with glowing lines, symbols that pulsed like veins of light beneath his flesh. "What does that mean?" he whispered. "It means," said the dragon, "that you are not as ordinary as you think." "Human," Rowan shook his head. "I'm just a man. Nothing special." The dragon smiled, a weary, terrible thing full of sadness. "That is what all heroes say before the universe remembers their name." The storm above roared again, golden lightning illuminating the valley, and in that light, Rowan saw the dragon's scars, deep cracks running along its neck and chest, scales chipped away, wings bound tight with molten metal. It was a creature of impossible strength, yet it looked tired. "Why didn't you break free?" Rowan asked quietly. "If you can speak, if you can call storms, why stay chained?" The dragon's head turned slightly, its massive eyes closing for a brief moment. "Because freedom taken by rage would turn me into what they accused me of being," it said. "I chose to wait until one heart could touch these chains without hatred." Rowan stood silent for a long moment, the storm wind whipping his coat. The heat rising around him, he finally said, "And now I've done that." "Yes," the dragon answered, voice echoing softly through his mind. "And now the mountain wakes again, the gods will feel it. They will come to see who dared disturb their forgotten prisoner." The human's heart pounded. "Then I'll leave, I'll go before they come." But the dragon laughed softly. "It is far too late for that. Human, once the chains feel life, they cannot unfeel it. And the mountain has already sent its cry to the stars." Rowan stepped back, panic rising in his chest, but before he could speak again, the ground beneath him trembled. Dust fell from the cliffs. Cracks spread through the ancient symbols carved into the stone. The very air began to hum like a giant heartbeat. The dragon lifted its head high, spreading its broken wings as far as the chains allowed. "You have awakened the song of memory," it said. "Now listen, and understand what your touch has done." The mountain groaned. The sky burned gold, and Rowan dropped to his knees, clutching his head as images poured into his mind. Armies of light, endless wars between gods and beasts. The birth of stars, the death of empires, and through it all, one dragon standing against divine cruelty, refusing to kill a fragile, hopeful race. When the vision ended, Rowan lay gasping, eyes wide, tears running down his face. "That world you spared," he whispered, "was it us?" The dragon's eyes dimmed to soft amber, and its voice became almost tender. "Perhaps, human. Perhaps you are the children of those I once saved." Then the dragon lowered its head again, looking into his trembling eyes. "But know this. Those who chained me will not forgive, and they will not forget." Lightning struck the valley once more, and far above the storm clouds something vast stirred in the heavens. Something watching, something waking, and for the first time, Rowan understood that his touch had not only freed a prisoner, it had invited the wrath of gods. The storm above the mountain grew louder. Thunder rolled through the black clouds like the growl of an angry world. Rowan stood beneath it, his armor humming with static, his body still trembling from the vision the dragon had forced into his mind. He had seen empires rise and die, gods waging war against their own creations, and one dragon, this dragon, defying them all for the sake of mercy. Now that same dragon watched him in silence, its eyes flickering like molten suns. Each chain around its body glowed faintly, alive with divine energy. The runes carved into the metal pulsed like a heartbeat. Slow and steady, Rowan took a careful step forward, his boots crunching against the scorched ground. "These chains," he said quietly, "they're not just metal, are they?" The dragon tilted its head, smoke curling from its nostrils. "No," it answered. "They are the will of gods made solid. Every link forged from a promise that I would never rise again." Rowan moved closer, his helmet visor flashing warnings about the heat levels, but he ignored it. He reached out and placed his hand against one of the glowing links. The surface was hot like lava. Yet beneath it he felt something alive, something that pulsed with thought. The dragon rumbled softly, its voice like thunder from a faraway storm. "You feel it, don't you? The chains remember every hand that forged them, every word that cursed me." Rowan nodded slowly, sweat dripping down his neck. "I feel something," he whispered, "like sorrow and rage." The dragon lowered its head closer, eyes burning brighter. "They feed on those feelings. They are made to keep me silent, to keep mercy buried under hatred, but your touch stirs them, because you are not born of their world." The human frowned. "Not born of their world." The dragon's gaze deepened. "Your kind was born from dust and defiance, not from divine command that makes you dangerous to them." Rowan stared at the chains again, his mind racing. "How do I break them?" he asked suddenly. "How do I set you free?" The dragon's massive body trembled slightly, its wings shifting against the bindings. "You cannot," it said, voice heavy with sadness. "Only those marked by the divine may unbind what the divine has sealed." "But I touched it," Rowan said. "And it reacted." The dragon's eyes narrowed. "Yes, and that frightens even me." The human took a step back, his hand still glowing faintly from the contact. The skin burned with strange symbols, lines of light that looked like ancient runes. They moved under his skin like liquid gold. "It's inside me," he murmured, "the chain's energy. It's inside me." The dragon let out a deep, rumbling sigh. The sound shook the air. "Then the gods are already watching, human. They will come for you soon." Rowan clenched his fists, pain flaring through his arms, but along with it came a strange strength. He felt connected, to the mountain, to the air, even to the dragon itself. "Let them come," he said through gritted teeth. I'm not afraid. A faint smile curved across the dragon's lips. Old and weary. You remind me of myself before the chains, it said. Foolish, proud, and brave enough to touch the impossible. Rowan ignored the warning, his curiosity burning brighter than fear. He studied the carvings on the chain, strange symbols spiraling in endless circles. What do these mean? He asked, tracing one of them with his finger. The moment he did, the mountain roared. A wave of energy blasted outward, throwing him to the ground. The rock beneath his feet cracked and glowed. The chain pulsed brighter, alive with ancient power. Stop! The dragon thundered, the sound shaking the sky. You don't know what you're awakening. But Rowan didn't stop. He stood again, hair flying in the wind, his eyes wide and shining with reflected light. I can feel it. It's not just power. It's memory, the dragon growled. Then drown in it. The moment those words echoed, the chain erupted in golden fire and the human's mind was flooded with visions once again. He saw the birth of the universe. Stars spun from the hands of shining beings. He saw dragons flying between worlds, guarding creation. He saw betrayal, gods turning on their guardians, imprisoning them one by one. And then he saw her, a dragon of silver and blue, standing before an army of gods, wings spread, protecting a small, fragile world. That same world that looked hauntingly familiar to Earth. Rowan's heart pounded as the images faded. His knees hit the ground. Smoke rising from his palms, he gasped for air. You didn't just protect worlds, he whispered. You protected mine. The dragon's eyes softened, a flicker of old pain passing through them. You understand now, it said, why I was chained. Why they hid the truth. Rowan lifted his gaze, his voice shaking with emotion. They feared mercy. They feared love, the dragon corrected softly. Because love makes mortals defy gods. The mountain trembled again, cracks spreading across the valley. The golden lines on Rowan's hands glowed brighter, merging into the same symbols that bound the dragon. He realized in that moment that he had become connected to the prison itself. Then maybe I can undo it, he said, determination burning in his eyes. The dragon shook its head slowly. Every chain has a cost, human. If you break even one, part of your soul will stay with me. Rowan smiled faintly, pain flickering across his face. Then I'll give what I can spare. For a moment, the dragon looked at him in silence. The storm reflected in its eyes, then it whispered, You truly are not like the others. He reached forward once more, his fingers trembling, and laid his hand on the largest link of all. This time the metal didn't resist. It sang a low, deep note that echoed through the valley like the first breath of dawn. The dragon lifted its head, chains rattling as energy surged through them. You have started what cannot be stopped, it said. When one chain breaks, the heavens will tremble. Rowan nodded slowly, his voice calm but steady. Then let them tremble. And high above in the golden clouds, something vast and shining stirred. The gods had heard the song of their chains being touched by mortal hands, and they were waking. You said the mountain shook for hours after Rowan's touch, its cries echoing across the empty valley like the heartbeat of something ancient. Even the storms seemed to pause, lightning crawling across the clouds in golden veins instead of striking down. Rowan stood in the shadow of the chained dragon, chest heaving, hands glowing with the same strange light that ran through the runes. The dragon's eyes followed him quietly, ancient and calculating. You feel it now, don't you? It rumbled. The link between your soul and the chains. Rowan flexed his fingers, watching the light pulse under his skin. It's like they're alive inside me, he said, voice trembling. I can feel the mountain breathing, the air listening, the sky waiting. The dragon nodded slowly. The gods will sense it soon, it said, and when they do, they will come not to judge but to erase. As if answering those words, the ground began to hum with low vibrations. The air shimmered with static. Rowan turned toward the sky and saw streaks of light breaking through the clouds. Descending fast, they weren't meteors, they were ships, sleek and glowing with energy signatures he had never seen before. He reached for his communicator, but it was already alive with static, unidentified craft. This is Captain Rowan Hale of the Galactic Research Fleet, he called. Identify yourselves. No answer came, but his ship's scanner lit up on its own, an emergency channel forcing its way through. Captain Hale, said a cold mechanical voice. By order of the Galactic Council, you are to withdraw immediately. Your presence has triggered a divine response protocol. Rowan stared up at the falling lights. Divine response? He whispered. You mean the gods? The voice interrupted. Do not engage, Captain. You are in violation of containment law. The dragon chuckled darkly behind him. Containment law, it repeated. The sound like a storm laughing. They hide behind new names, but their fear never changes. Rowan turned to the dragon. You knew this would happen. The creature's massive head bowed slightly. I told you, human. When the chains are touched, the heavens remember, and they come to silence the memory. The first of the descending lights landed on a nearby ridge, sending shockwaves through the rock. Ships of glass and light hovered in formation, their engines humming with divine energy. The pilots were not human, nor alien. Rowan couldn't see their faces, only silhouettes made of gold and mist. One of them stepped forward, voice echoing across the valley without sound, directly into Rowan's mind. Step away from the imprisoned one, mortal. This is your only warning. Rowan raised his weapon but didn't aim. His voice was steady. And if I don't? The golden figure's form rippled, wings of light unfolding behind it. Then your world will share its fate, the dragon growled. Chains rattling like thunder. Even after all this time, you still threaten children with fire, it said. You learned nothing. The being turned its gaze toward the dragon. You are forbidden to speak. A blinding pulse shot from the being's hand, striking the dragon across the chest. The sound was deafening. The smell of scorched air filled the valley. Rowan's heart pounded as he shouted, Stop it! You'll kill it! He fired a single blast from his rifle. It hit the energy field surrounding the being and dispersed harmlessly. But it was enough. The being turned its gaze toward him, the light in its eyes burning brighter. You dare strike at the divine? Rowan's voice broke, but his resolve didn't. I dare defend what doesn't deserve this, he shouted. The being raised its arm again, ready to strike him down, but before it could, the dragon roared, a sound that tore through the clouds. The chains ignited in golden fire, breaking one after another. The air rippled as molten light surged through the mountain. The dragon's voice thundered across the valley. You will not touch him. The blast that followed knocked Rowan to the ground. Dust and fire sweeping through the air. The ships above wavered as the shockwave hit them. The divine being stumbled, wings flickering. When the dust cleared, Rowan saw the dragon's eyes blazing brighter than ever. Half its body free, wings spread wide enough to block the horizon. But pain flashed across its face. The remaining chains burned into its flesh. Holding it down, Rowan pushed himself to his feet, staggering toward it. You're breaking free, he shouted over the storm. Finish it! The dragon looked down at him, smoke curling from its nostrils. If I do, this world will burn, it said. The gods bound me not just to imprison, but to protect creation from the fire in my blood. Rowan's voice cracked. Then we'll find another way, but you can't stay in chains. The dragon's eyes softened for the first time. You speak as if you know me, it whispered. As if you've carried my sorrow before. Rowan didn't understand why, but tears burned his eyes. Maybe I have, he said. Maybe mercy is in my blood too. Another explosion shook the air. The golden ships reorganizing above, their weapons glowing white-hot, beams of light preparing to fire. The dragon spread its wings fully now, roaring, Go, human! Flee while you still can. Rowan shook his head, planting his feet firmly on the burning rock. Not a chance, he said, gripping his weapon. You're not dying alone. The dragon let out a sound between a laugh and a sigh, its massive eyes gleaming with respect. Then stand, human, and witness what happens when defiance meets divinity. The sky split open. The gods descended, and for the first time in 1,000 years, the chained dragon rose to meet them, not as a prisoner, but as a storm reborn. And in that blinding moment, Rowan realized something terrifying. He wasn't here by accident. He had been chosen. The world was light, fire and thunder. The sky above the mountain had torn apart. Golden ships circled like angry stars, their weapons glowing with holy fury. Rowan stood among the falling ash, his armor cracked, his weapon useless, and yet his eyes were fixed on the dragon. It was no longer a prisoner, not entirely. Half the chains that bound it had shattered. The rest glowed fiercely as if fighting to hold on. Molten cracks ran through the mountain beneath it, rivers of light flowing like veins of creation. Rowan could barely breathe. Every heartbeat echoed the dragon's pulse, the same strange power still burning inside his chest. The dragon lifted its head toward the heavens, its voice booming like a storm given words. You chained me for mercy, and now I will show you what true wrath looks like. Golden fire erupted from its chest. Sweeping across the sky, the first wave of divine ships shattered like glass under the heat. The others pulled back, forming a glowing circle high above. Their voices thundered in unison. You defy the decree of eternity. The dragon laughed, a deep, terrible sound that shook the bones of the world. Eternity, it spat. You mean your fear? Rowan shielded his face from the light. His communicator screamed with interference. Voices from the Galactic Council cut through the noise. Captain Hale, you've triggered a god-tier anomaly. Fall back now, he shouted into the wind. I can't. It's alive, it's not what you think. But no one answered. The signal died as the ground split open beneath him, lava and light rising from the cracks. He stumbled backward, barely holding his balance. The dragon turned toward him, eyes glowing brighter than ever. Human, it said softly, you must leave. Your kind does not belong in the war between heaven and what they fear. Rowan's voice cracked, but his will didn't. You're wrong, he said. We belong wherever there's injustice. The dragon's massive head lowered, its golden eyes studying him as if seeing something long forgotten. You sound like the first ones, it murmured. The ones who stood between gods and mortals. The ones I once protected. Rowan's hands glowed again, the same ancient symbols crawling up his arms. He felt the energy building, burning. But it didn't hurt. It felt like it was calling to him. Then let me stand again, he said quietly, with you. The dragon hesitated, then nodded slowly. Very well, human, but remember, every chain broken has a price and I'll pay it, Rowan whispered. Whatever it takes, the dragon roared. Spreading its wings, and Rowan felt the chains hum again, each one vibrating like a living thing. One by one, they began to snap, each break unleashing waves of light that turned night into day. Above, the gods' voices rose in fury. You unleash what should never be unbound. The dragon ignored them, fire and storm surging around its body. You made me a weapon, it shouted. But this human reminds me that mercy was my strength, not my weakness. Rowan stumbled forward, his palms burning with light. He pressed his hands against the last chain, and the symbols on his skin aligned perfectly with the runes carved into the metal. It screamed like a living thing dying and shattered into dust. The explosion that followed silenced the heavens. The dragon was free. Wind tore across the valley, waves of energy flattening every ridge and cliff for miles. Rowan was thrown into the air, weightless for a moment before crashing against the ground. He could barely move, his visor cracked, his body trembling. Through the smoke, he saw it, wings stretching across the horizon, scales burning gold and crimson, eyes blazing with power and sorrow. The dragon had become light itself. It looked down at him, its voice now echoing in his heart instead of his ears. You did what no god dared, human. You broke the will of eternity. Rowan coughed, his lips bleeding. Now what? He whispered. The dragon looked toward the sky, where the divine ships regrouped, forming a great circle. Now they will come with everything they have, it said. For when gods lose control, they choose destruction. The air began to vibrate again. Beams of pure energy gathering above, aimed directly at the mountain. Rowan's communicator flickered back to life for a moment. Captain Hale. Evacuate, the fleet's readings are off the scale. He ignored it, pushing himself to his feet. If they destroy you, they destroy me too, right? He said. The dragon nodded slowly. Yes, Rowan grinned faintly. Then I guess we fight together. For the first time, the dragon smiled, a soft, almost human expression that seemed impossible on something so vast. You truly are of the kind I once spared, it said. Brave, foolish, and full of heart, the sky screamed as the divine energy fell. The dragon roared and rose to meet it, flames spiraling around its wings like a shield. Rowan ran toward the blast site, his armor melting, his body burning with the same gold fire that lived in the dragon's veins. When the energy struck, the world turned white. The mountain cracked in half. The clouds exploded outward. The sound was like a universe being born again. In the silence that followed, the dragon's shadow passed over him, wings wide, free at last. And Rowan felt the energy inside him calm. Fading but not gone, he fell to his knees, smiling faintly through the pain, whispering to the sky, "You're free, far above." The dragon circled once, its voice echoing like distant thunder. No human we are. And as the golden light spread across the horizon, every god in the heavens felt something they hadn't known in millennia. Fear. The mountain was split open like the heart of a dying world. Smoke and golden light rose into the heavens, spreading across the clouds like fire and water. The dragon was free, and its roar had become a storm that shook the edges of reality itself. Rowan stood near the edge of the cliff. Armor cracked, lungs burning, but his eyes were fixed on the sky. Above him, the divine fleet had gathered. Hundreds of ships made of light and metal, their shapes shifting, almost alive, each one radiating power beyond comprehension. The dragon hovered in the air, its massive wings burning gold and crimson, every movement rippling through the air like thunder. Its voice rolled across the heavens. "You built your thrones on fear, and chained mercy to protect your pride," it said. "Now, face what you created." The gods' reply came as one, a voice so vast it made the stars flicker. "You were warned, Keeper of Fire. The day you chose mortals over the divine was the day you fell." The dragon roared, lightning spearing through the clouds. "Then let me fall again," it said, "but this time, I'll take your lies with me." Rowan could barely stand, but his heart raced with something he didn't understand. A connection pulsing between him and the dragon. Every breath, every heartbeat seemed to echo through the creature's fire. He touched the ground and the stones glowed faintly beneath his palm. From the fleet above, the first strike came. Beams of pure light descended like spears. The dragon twisted in the air, wings snapping open. The fire around it turned into a blazing shield. The beam struck. The mountain exploded again, waves of force rolling outward. Rowan was thrown back but grabbed a rock, holding on as the storm of light tore through everything around him. The dragon's roar drowned out the sound of the ships, flames cascading down like meteors. One of the divine vessels was struck, its hull cracking, a shockwave of broken light scattering across the clouds. Rowan watched in awe and horror as beings of gold emerged from the wreckage, their bodies reforming mid-air like molten light. The gods were descending. Rowan clenched his jaw, dragging himself upright. "If you're coming," he whispered, "you'll find we fight back." He ran toward his crashed ship, grabbing the emergency weapon, a pulse cannon, old and unstable but still functional as he charged it. His hands glowed again, the same golden runes flickering across his skin. The cannon reacted, its lights turning from blue to brilliant white. He aimed it toward the nearest descending figure. "Let's see if your divinity bleeds," he muttered. He fired. The shot screamed through the air like lightning unleashed. It hit the being mid-flight, and to Rowan's shock, it fell, crashing into the mountain below, leaving a crater of molten glass. The dragon turned sharply, its vast eyes locking onto him. "You dare to strike the divine," it said with something between pride and disbelief. Rowan's chest heaved. "You're not the only one who's done waiting," he said. "They can burn my body, but not my will." The dragon laughed softly, a deep, rolling sound that shook the sky. "Then fight beside me, human. Let them remember why mercy once burned brighter than wrath." The gods unleashed another wave. Beams of white fire rained down. The dragon soared upward, weaving through them with impossible speed, its scales flaring like a living sun. It struck one ship with its tail, another with its flame, each impact echoing through the sky like the drums of war. Rowan ran between the falling debris, firing his weapon until it overheated, each blast guided by the strange energy in his blood. Every time he was about to fall, the light under his skin flared, healing him, pushing him forward. The heavens had turned into a battlefield, golden flame twisting together, ships burning, clouds ripped apart, light raining like shattered stars. Then, the largest of the divine vessels appeared, descending slowly through the smoke, its size so massive it covered half the horizon, symbols of judgment glowing along its hull. A voice unlike any other filled the air. "Enough!" The dragon froze mid-air, its fire flickering. Rowan fell to one knee, his ears ringing from the force of that single word. The voice continued, "Your rebellion ends now, Firekeeper, and the mortal who shares your flame will be erased from time." The dragon's wings folded back, its eyes narrowing. "Try it," it said simply. A beam of white light fell from the great ship, wider than the mountain itself. Rowan's eyes widened. "Move," he shouted, but the dragon didn't move. It roared and flew directly into the beam. Wings spread, fire bursting from its chest. The light consumed everything, the mountain, the air. The stars themselves disappeared behind it. Rowan screamed as the shockwave hit him, his armor vaporizing, but he kept his hand raised. Golden light bursting from his skin. Through the brightness, he saw the dragon's silhouette pushing against the beam, wings melting, scales burning away. "But still climbing, still fighting, don't stop," Rowan shouted through tears. You're stronger than them. The dragon's voice echoed in his mind, faint but clear. No, human. We are stronger than them. He felt the fire pour through him again, his body glowing brighter, his voice merging with the dragon's roar, and together they pushed back the divine light. The sky shattered, the beam split in two, the great ship cracked open like glass, light spilling out as it fell. Silence followed. The dragon fell too. Smoke trailing behind its broken wings, Rowan ran toward the crater, stumbling over the burning ground. Hold on, he shouted. Don't you dare give up now. The dragon's great head lay among the ashes, eyes dim, voice weak. You defied the divine, it whispered. Rowan knelt beside it, his hand still glowing. No, he said softly. I reminded them what being alive means. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the gods did not speak. The heavens were silent, afraid, watching a dragon and a human share the fire they once called forbidden. The wrath of the heavens had come and found something it could not destroy: hope. The storm had finally gone quiet. The air hung still, filled with the soft sound of falling ash and the faint hum of fading power. The mountain that had stood untouched for 1,000 years was now split open. Its heart glowing gold, Rowan staggered through the smoke, armor torn, face streaked with blood and ash. But his eyes searched for only one thing: the dragon. He found it lying in the crater, enormous wings folded like broken banners, scales cracked and glowing faintly with the dying light of its fire. The ground around it shimmered, not from heat but from energy, alive, waiting. Rowan fell to his knees beside the creature's massive head. Hey, he whispered hoarsely. You're still breathing. The dragon's eyes opened slowly. One a fading gold, the other dim and cracked like shattered glass. Barely, it murmured, its voice softer now. No longer thunder but tired wind. They will come again, human. They always do. Rowan shook his head. Not this time, he said. They've lost their grip, they've lost their fear. The dragon gave a weak chuckle, smoke curling from its nostrils. You don't understand, fear is their anchor. Without it they have nothing, so they will try to make you fear again. He looked around, at the ruined valley, at the ships burning in the sky, at the silence that had replaced the divine roar. Then I'll show them something stronger, he said quietly. Faith. The dragon tilted its head, one great eye studying him. Faith, it repeated. You speak like one of us. Rowan smiled faintly, his hand resting on the dragon's glowing scales. Maybe we were never that different, he said. We just forgot. Above them, the clouds began to shift, splitting apart to reveal the stars. The first calm sky in centuries, light from the heavens spilled down across the ruined mountain, and for the first time it didn't feel cold, it felt alive. The dragon breathed deeply, smoke rising in long, steady streams. I can feel it, it said. The chains are gone. But so am I. Rowan's heart tightened. Don't you dare say that, he said. You're not done yet. The dragon smiled gently. You broke the laws of gods, human. You gave light to a world that forgot how to hope. That was my burden once, and now it is yours. He shook his head fiercely. No, we did it together. The dragon's tail twitched weakly, the ground pulsing with light. Yes, it whispered. And together, we reminded the heavens that mercy burns brighter than fear. For a long moment, neither spoke. The wind swept across the valley, carrying ash and the faint echo of divine thunder far away. The gods had retreated, silent, wounded. Watching from the edge of their broken sky, Rowan looked down at his hands. The golden markings that had once glowed fiercely were now fading, becoming scars. What happens to me now? He asked quietly. The dragon's voice drifted through his mind, warm and distant. You carry my fire now, human. It will not consume you, but it will change you. Wherever you go, the gods will feel it. He swallowed hard. They'll come for me. Yes, said the dragon, but they will also fear you. He laughed softly. Guess I'll take that as a win. The dragon's breath slowed, its great body sinking slightly into the cracked earth. When they ask what happened here, it murmured, what will you tell them? Rowan looked up at the stars, at the galaxies shining far above the clouds. I'll tell them a story, he said, about a dragon who taught a human that mercy isn't weakness, it's strength. The dragon's eyes dimmed further, but a small spark flickered one last time. Then tell it well, it whispered, because one day, when the fire in your heart meets the cold of their fear, that story will be the weapon that saves your kind. Rowan felt the ground tremble softly beneath him. not in destruction, but in peace, as if the mountain itself was finally exhaling after 1,000 years of pain. The light beneath the dragon's body grew brighter, not burning, but warm, gentle, like sunrise after endless night. "Rest now," he whispered. "You're free." The dragon's last words drifted through the air like a fading flame. "No, human, we are." Then the light consumed it, its form dissolving into 1,000 golden sparks that floated into the sky, merging with the stars one by one until nothing remained but the echo of its voice. Rowan stood alone in the Valley of Gods, watching as the final glow faded, his chest still burning with faint gold light. He whispered to the empty sky. For 1,000 years, no one dared approach, but a human did. He climbed the shattered ridge and looked down at the world below, the clouds clearing, sunlight breaking across the land. And for the first time in history, mortals looked up, not in fear of the divine, but in awe of what courage could do. And somewhere beyond the stars, where gods once ruled and dragons once bowed, a new story began to spread, a tale told in whispers across galaxies, of a man who touched the chains of heaven, of a dragon who chose mercy over vengeance, and of the day the gods themselves learned to fear the light of a single human heart. From that day forward, the universe called it the Day of Fire Reborn, but the legends had another name for it: the day a human freed a god.